Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking your time to join us in this very important um, and yet potentially a heated discussion tonight. And whether you are joining us on Zoom, on Facebook, or TikTok, we are just glad that you are here. So welcome, everyone. As I said, I'm Braste, and I will be your host tonight as we are going to unpack some of the burning issues that have been trending across South Africa and beyond the borders. And my apologies that my co-host could not join me tonight due to some of the other commitments. However, tonight we are joined by three dynamic voices that are going to help us unpack these tough issues, from very different perspective. So let me welcome everyone. We have Jama tonight, all the way from GP. We have Motsidisi Dekate from Free State. We also have Sibusiso Dikome from Northwest. And if you really don't mind, Mr. Sibusiso, we really like to see you. So if you don't mind, you can turn on your camera. However, we have prepared some few questions for our guest to weigh in tonight, but there's also a room for you in the audience room. You are also going to have your input as well, so have those comments ready. So I'm going to give our guests a little moment to introduce themselves, tell us where they are from and what they do. So we'll start with the lady, Motsidisi. Over to you.
Okay, hi everyone. I am Motsidisi, better known as TD. So I'm from the Free State, Twatwa. I'm an early childhood development practitioner venturing into the education sector. I'm a community development worker. I'm one of those women who says nothing about us without us on tables of decision making. And yeah, I'm a lover of all things that brings empowerment and development within Black communities or the world as a whole. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Thank you so much. Let's give it to Jama.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Braste. Thank you to Mavsos for hosting us today. My name is Jama Pikicha. I am a South African, first and foremost. I'm a filmmaker, blogger. I'm based in the township. Right now I'm in Katlehong, but I've stayed in many townships across South Africa, from Tanzania to Khayelitsha in the Western Cape. So I'm a township boy. I read a lot, and my thing is sharing knowledge and just sharing information, telling stories of our daily lives, So my focus on filmmaking and storytelling is really just putting the stories that we experience in the townships, in other marginalized areas, and just putting them out there. So yeah, thank you for having me, Mavsos.
Thank you, Jama. Thank you so much. Thank you. You are welcome, sir. And then our next guest speaker, Sibusiso Dikome. You are welcome, sir. Mr. Dikome, can you unmute yourself, sir, and say something?
Hello. Greetings to all the listeners and to you, Mr. Ste. Apologies, I'm having some technical difficulties on my side, even for audio, for video, I mean. So I will only be available for audio. And then my name is Sibusiso Dikome. I'm from the Northwest Province in a village called Tlhakane, in Mafikeng, the city of Mafikeng. I'm a politician and a student by occupation, and currently I happen to be in the Congress of South African Students, the South African Students Congress, and also the ANC Youth League. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sbu. Thank you, everyone. So for now, to kick off things, I just want people to understand why we are having such conversations. Number one is to enlighten, if not to educate the community regarding recent burning issues. So we are just here to educate one another and build a better South Africa. So now, before we kick off things, I have prepared 2 short clips from TikTok that I'm going to play for you all to start off with our conversation. So let me try to play the first clip.
Why did you arrest illegal South Africans?
Zimbabwe enforces its laws. We are not a banana republic.
Yes. And the you know what happened? Can you go and fix your problem with anymore? So start making arrangements. Let me say this. Now, today, when you get home, start making arrangements for where are you going to get that baby from? Where are you going to deliver that baby? Because here you are not coming. Pretoria West, you are not coming. We don't want you anymore. Start making arrangements where you are going to deliver that child. Because here we don't want you. Yeah, you can go into Ramaphosa's house. He will help you deliver the child.
No, leader, even Julius Malema.
Yeah, even Julius Malema. Wrong person. Are you not pregnant? Are you not using our facilities free? Are you not using our facilities?
How much did you?
What is wrong here? Because you are using our facilities. You are using our. You came with a bag to give birth. You are using our facilities. So we are not talking to the wrong person. We are talking to the right.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience as I was trying to navigate through everything. But that's it. That's the clips that I wanted to play. And then to kick off things, Jama, I'm going to start with you, right? I have a question for you here. As a storyteller, you are always on the pulse of public sentiment, right? And the Zimbabwean president recently defended arrests of illegal South Africans, saying Zimbabwe is not a banana republic. They enforce their laws. Yet in South Africa, many demand the removal of foreign nationals from, clinics and schools. Do you think South Africans are justified in retaliating against foreign nationals in service delivery? And how do you think? Okay, you can proceed.
Okay, thank you, Preston. That's a very loaded question, my brother. And I don't think it would be fair on my side to just answer it directly like that. I think it needs a bit of context and a bit of background. First of all, with the Zim president, what he said, I feel like it's poking us as Africans in the eye because we are not new to the term banana republic. We've been compared to that before. But when it comes to this particular case, deporting South African nationals, I feel like he is sort of showing us an example of how we as South Africans should have dealt or should be dealing with our problem of illegal migration, not only from Zim, but also with our entire immigration laws, our entire international relations and cooperation sector. I'm one of the people who says it needs a lot of rework. Maybe the constitution needs to be amended when it comes to foreign and international relations. But definitely, what he said is very problematic, because as South Africa right now, we are facing a huge issue of overcrowded schools, overcrowded clinics. And not only that, but we also have politicians and other maybe stakeholders who don't really push for South Africans to be on level with these services. Even the most basic services, we as South Africans, we lack them, or else we have to fight for those basic services amongst ourselves even before foreign nationals come in. So I think he is sort of highlighting something that we should have been doing a long time ago. For instance, Zimbabwe is very strict when it comes to their laws, my brother. If an example, in April early this year, there was a South African entrepreneur who traveled to Zimbabwe on business. Unfortunately, they got sick, and then they had to be airlifted from Zimbabwe to South Africa in order for them to get treatment. So there's many cases. Some people say that Zimbabwe didn't have enough facilities or resources to assist. But then even an ambulance, they couldn't even get an ambulance to get the guy to the border. South Africa had to send transport to Zimbabwe, to Bulawayo, and get the patient to the border before the helicopter can lift them to Limpopo, a hospital there. So that's just one of many cases which I feel like we should have looked at it and say, okay, cool. Our arrangement with SADC countries and other illegal immigrants really needs to be reworked in order to accommodate South Africans truly in the sense of the word. And I'm not gonna say it's only illegal immigrants from SADC regions or any other African nation. There's examples for instance, digital nomads. They're also adding a problem to the property value in, for instance, say in Cape Town and other areas where you find Airbnbs, where these digital nomads find themselves in, extend their visas and stay for elongated periods while still appreciating the value which is we as local South Africans cannot afford. Another case is Starlink, Elon Musk. Now we have to amend EPEA to give him space. So as someone who is on the ground in the township and not to say poor, but sort of in the low income, I see all these things and say South Africa doesn't take me first, doesn't look at my problems first and say, let's deal with South Africans first before we can accommodate other people. So I'm really one of the people who says our constitution, more especially when it comes to international relations and cooperation, we need a lot of rework. For instance, as things stand now, the whole department, since maybe Minister Naledi Pandor left, and the biggest thing they did was the Palestine versus laying a case against Israel for war. So with all these things, DIRCO right now under the GNU is sort of like an absent player. Not that in the past time they've been doing much, but right now we can clearly see that our international relations and cooperations and other foreign affairs issues need a lot of work. They need to be amended, maybe the constitution, but yeah, we need a lot of work on that. And I am one of the people who says the Zim president was wrong. Maybe not wrong, but what they said, it gives us a mirror to look at ourselves and say, okay, if Zim does this, then what do we do about our problem of illegal immigrants and other cases? Our schools are full, our clinics are full. So we definitely need help when it comes to those things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jama. That was very insightful. Mr. Sbu, I'm going to pass this one to you. Now, since young people are watching as this unfold, and many are jobless, angry, and easily influenced by anti-foreign, rhetoric. Now, the Zimbabwean president says they simply enforced their law. But here at home, when foreigners are arrested or deported, many celebrate. So now, Tusbu, are we losing our moral compass as young people in South Africa, or is this simply self-preservation through times? Should student leaders open support foreign nationals, or is it a time we say, enough is enough now to foreign migrations, especially, to be specific, illegal?
Thank you, my brother. Well, a very complex topic we're having here and an issue on the table. But my 2 cents in this matter is that I would agree to some extent that we are losing our moral compass. Actually, I disagree to that, because it's not necessarily losing a moral compass, but deciding to realign views, because now, to some extent, we find ourselves in a situation whereby we as South Africa are now being, overwhelmed by our own kindness. So there's thing of the leniency that has been happening, the past leniency towards the illegal immigration is now beginning to cause problems, more especially whereby we're having issues of service delivery in our country, whereby for example, in medical facilities, so our own services are not enough for the citizens of South Africa, and now we're having an influx of foreigners who are also coming in illegally and coming in to become an economic. They're basically coming in to become their own economic anchor within the country, which is effectively hindering our growth. So now, it's not a matter of losing our moral compass, but rather we are now beginning to approach it logically and fairly, because the issue about illegal immigrants is that we're going to find ourselves also having issues whereby we have high crime rates, high unemployment, lack of services, basic services to everybody. And then within that thing of the president also coming up with a statement saying they are enforcing their laws and they're not a banana republic. We must also refer back to an incident that happened a few months back in the Limpopo province, whereby we were finding that there was a problem of hospitals and clinics being full. And the majority, and the issue was that a lot of hospital beds are filled by illegal immigrants, and creating a problem that South African citizens are not being able to be admitted into hospitals. So now there's the burning issue of now we must take all of these sick people and basically kick them out of the country and go return them back to South Africa, to Zimbabwe, to get treatment in their own country, which of course in the international eye gets perceived as xenophobia, and that as South Africa we are losing that thing of moral compass and we are now becoming ruthless and brutal. So it is not an issue of losing moral compass, but we are stuck between a rock and a hard place.
All right, thank you so much, Sbu. Thank you so much for that. And then CD, we are coming to you now. We have a question for you. And then we know that education teaches us tolerance, but these headlines clearly show growing hostility, right? And then many South Africans argue that foreigners drain health and education for the citizens, for South Africans, while others call that xenophobia in disguise. So now, can you tell us, how do we balance South African fist sentiments without obligations under human rights and Ubuntu? Where do we draw a line
Okay.
between patriotism and prejudice, especially in schools and clinics?
Okay, so whenever I tackle these kind of issues, I'm a firm believer of bringing it home. I mean, I cannot speak on behalf of somebody who lives in the cities, whereas I'm a village girl. I experience what happens within the villages. So firstly, before I get further into my topic, I believe South Africa has to come to a point where they create or implement their policies based on our reality. I feel like most of the time we adopt all these different policies, your Agenda 2030 or what, but whenever the implementation process starts, we never bring it home. We'd be having a policy that says quality education for all. But South Africa, when it implements, it doesn't look in a context of, yes, quality education for all, but we've got rural areas where there are no resources. How do we first tackle that? So if we can just bring in policies and implement them according to our standards, according to our as a developing country, I think most things would actually come to being solved. And also, we also need to go back to the drawing board as a country. First of all, like our country on its own is unable to accommodate us in education. So every sector, actually, the education, the health sector, our country, our policies, and whatever that is implemented in these sectors is unable to serve us as the South Africans, thoroughly so. So now imagine adding, it's like you have a piece of chicken for your child, and then you try to bring other 3 kids to eat with your child. Already, that will never be enough for your child, and it will deprive the child getting the quality of the meal. So I think the problem with us is not also being strict with regards to implementing our policies. I'm currently in Lesotho because my deep paternal side of the family comes from Lesotho, so I'm here to visit. So when we talked earlier, I was like, oh my word, should I get sick while I'm in here? What's gonna happen? So having traveled to other countries, including America, one thing I've seen about other countries is that they never compromise on what's written down, whereas we tend to compromise a lot. If they say nobody is supposed to do this, nobody. I remember an experience whereby I had just landed at JFK International Airport in New York, and I was struggling to check in something on the machines. Those people attended me within seconds, but go to OR Tambo, people are just roaming, a person can just run, just for example. So our country needs to come to a position of being very strict with regards to the policies that they've implemented, and implement them in a context of bringing it home. And then another thing as well is creating policies that include everybody. Yes, we've got all these policies written nicely and the English is very attractive, but you'd find they do not practice the power of inclusion. Many people, especially the less privileged people, are often left out. One of the things I was always advocating for within the NGO sector is that, yes, we do come on these tables of decision making. We do share ideas based on where we come from and the experiences that we have. But when these things get implemented, we only see them happening within the cities and all of that. They never get to where we need them to be. So, yeah. And we also need to make education fashionable, guys. Education in its formal and non-formal form. So one thing our country never does is to make education formal, thoroughly so. Hence, we are in a position whereby there's a lot of inequality. We need to speak more about the Ubuntu and the values that are attached to it. We know currently we've got the constitution, but approach one person, Kasi, and ask them, what does the Constitution of South Africa say? They know nothing. It's because we are not being sensitized enough. We're not being sensitized enough so that we are able to implement all of those. And we also need to ensure that there is economic empowerment implemented. These policies should include all communities equally so. Because one thing I've also come to realize, there's no such a thing as middle class. I was sitting down the other day reflecting on my life, the family line that I come from, and I was like, oh God, so we really are poor. We are just being given the glamour word of middle class. So there's no middle class in our country. It's either you are rich or you are poor. And that alone screams inequality. So yeah, and again, our country needs to prioritize anything and everything they say, including fixing how the foreigners enter our country. The reason why there's a whole lot of baggage on our country, the reason why we are being drained is because there's a whole lot of there's a whole lot of corruption happening. We are not able to account. We are not able to look back and see, is this saving, is this not saving, and all of that. So if people could know, once I'm in South Africa illegally, so I'll never be compromised to anything, they will never come. When you visit other countries, if you don't have the required documents, you are doomed. You don't get access to anything. But the thing with us is that we tend to use humanity even in cases where we are not supposed to be using it. Yeah, I think I have covered everything I wanted to cover. So to balance that all, we need to be very strict with our policies, and we need to ensure that implementation takes place accordingly. Nobody should say, no, if I just came into South Africa, I'll go to somebody who will ensure that. So we need to also limit or take away corruption. I don't know, but the starting point is going back to the Constitution. Remember, our Constitution, whenever it addresses something, it says all. So if it says all, it gives people the opportunity, even if they're not from South Africa, and even if they're not from here legally, like they're not here legally, so it gives them the benefit or the right to have access to that. So if we could also adjust our policies to South African citizens or people who are deployed, who came here legally, so then it would end a whole lot of problems. Other countries do not compromise, guys. They don't compromise like we do. And if we could use that strategy, I think a whole lot of things will actually improve for us. For instance, even in schools, just to wrap it up, you'd find that the department would give principals a go-ahead of taking in kids who do not have the correct documents to be in South Africa. But those kids are often prohibited when they've got to write matric exams. So why not say, if these kids do not have the particular documentations that we need, we are not taking them. They will be left with no choice but to go back. It's already drained. We are not getting quality, so there's no need to bring somebody else into the picture. Let us fix, the thing of, if you want to change the world, start home. So we need to work on ourselves first before trying to accommodate other people. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Motsidisi. That was very powerful. And then I see we have a hand up, Minir Deke. I don't know if it's a question for Motsidisi or it's something related to something else, but you can unmute yourself so that we can see where we are going with this. Minir Deke, over to you, sir.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I raised a hand just to add on what they are saying, because this thing, it's a problem when it comes to us South African, more especially when you look at the foundation. Let's look at the law that is being used in different schools. Now, the law that are being used in order to kill the generation that is coming, that is going to even help in improving or in developing the country. For example, let's look at the new laws that are implemented in the act known as the Bella Act, that says for us to discipline our learners so that our learners should listen or should hear what like they need to hear from us. Like we don't even need to use punishment. We don't even need to shout at the learner. Like we should just give them everything in a platform whereby like they have to make their own decision. We are not being needed on that field. It's like we are going there to the field. We are going to ask them, learners, can you do this? If they don't want to do it, it means there's nothing we can do. You see, they are even killing this generation, telling them that you have the right to education. And those learners start to forget that. Like we are the guardians, we need to guide them. And we need also to follow the rules and laws that were used before, whereby a learner should be reminded how to do something by discipline, by at least showing them that if you don't do this, this is your punishment. So our learners like now are relaxed, and if our learners are relaxed, already we can see the future for our country is gone. Because before we knew if I don't do this, I'm gonna face consequences. So I agree to that. We can't say people who are coming outside to our country like they have many rights than us. We have rights, but our rights are killing our people, but their rights and their laws are helping them to be or to benefit from everything they are doing. For us, just go to tertiaries and compare a learner who's coming from a public school and a learner who's coming from a private school. You will see that there's a difference between these two people. This one knew that.
Miner, take care.
This side.
Please be brief, sir.
Okay, I have network problem. Let me just close. What I wanted us to look at is that, like, we are killing our own generation in this country. That's why we find out that most people now don't care. Even the department like is oppressing other people instead of giving them a platform how to run their department. So I didn't want us to look at only people who are coming to our country. I wanted us to look at ourselves, or what are we doing in order to change this. So I think now that was the overview.
And just to add a bit, another problem is that policies are created by people who are not in the field. I think that's one of the problems. You'd find that those policies are brought together by people who are not in the field. Somebody would be sitting somewhere in the offices and they just give a policy without knowing the reality of the field. It's one of the reasons why, if we could have people on the field being on the table of creating those policies, it would really create balance.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. And then we have questions for people in the audience. Our question says, should South Africa deny foreign national access to our clinics, schools, and public services? Yes or no, and why? We are just going to take two people and then we wrap it up. Anyone who has anything to say regarding the question? And go ahead, Jamal.
I'm sorry, I just had connection problems, hence my camera is off now. But just in a nutshell, bro, it's this thing with me. If foreign nationals, Motsidis mentioned this when she traveled to other countries which are developed. You go to a country, when you apply for a visa or you apply for asylum or whatever you apply for, when you go to another country in the legal way, there are conditions which you have to answer. There are questions, there's a criteria. For instance, if you have a chronic sickness, if you have something, do you have medical insurance? If you have this, do you have pills for it? Do you have a cover? Do you have all these things? So that if we as a country now cannot afford assistance to assist you, you must have a backup plan. Of course, there are issues such as a pandemic or people getting sick and the sickness is affecting other people. Then in such cases, help is needed. But my thing again will be that we know rhetoric how they always say South Africans are lazy, South Africans are broke, South Africans are this. So if they are so financially well off, why cannot they afford abonnet care and private hospitals that they have to pay for? Because Tina, we are poor at this side, and we have our only option is our clinics and our public hospitals. So because they are illegal and they cannot have identification and other things to go to these private healthcare facilities, they come to overcrowd the ones which even we as the poor people depend on. Because like Mutsidisi said, most Africans are poor, bruh. So if all these guys from the outside have the financial means and the financial strength to come to South Africa and make a living for themselves, and we are lazy, then they should be able to afford healthcare, insurance, medical aid, and all these things. Before I leave my brother, because the time now is on shit, there's just one thing I have. With South Africa, foreign engagement, we really need to focus on foreign engagement that is principled. If this is how we deal, if this is how Zimbabwe deals with us, we deal with them in the same way. We don't come with that principle, oh, diplomacy this, diplomacy that, because what it does is we become batati chance, they take all these things, they become opportunists. Because now we are saying, oh no, you're sick, go to the hospital. Oh, you need education, go to the school. Because we know that morally we are upstanding as a country, but now people are taking opportunity of that. So we should not be selectively moralistic, and economically opportunistic. We should have a balanced constitution. If this is how country A treats us, we treat them that way. So yeah, that is my 2 cents, Prester, and thanks to everyone who's been here. I sort of have to go right now.
Thank you so much, Jama. Thank you so much for joining us. I believe we have come to the end of the session, and then thank you so much, my beautiful and handsome guest speakers. You have been truly wonderful. Continue to make an impact. To the wonderful audience, whether you joined via Zoom, you joined via Facebook or TikTok, thank you. It was very wonderful to have you here. And then I also want to read the comments here. We have a comment from Chef Naledi. They say, I honestly think our system needs to be strict and they must pay for services. We pay in foreign countries too. That comes from Chef.
Yeah.
And then thank you, Jama, so much. Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a wonderful night. And then from me, from Mavsos, until next time, keep safe, keep thinking deep. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.